There are disasters you can see coming, and then there are ones you hear first. A bridge doesn't grow to be dramatic, it grows because something is letting it go. Senior Inspector Marcus's job was simple: find the small problems before they become headlines. But this didn't feel small, it felt alive. At first, it was a gentle sway, the kind you blame on wind, but then it came again, a perfectly timed, like the bridge had found a beat and couldn't stop following it. He looked up and saw it, not a break yet, just a line that shouldn't be there, a warning written in a language of steel. And then the bridge sang louder, the kind of sound that makes your stomach drop because your brain recognizes it before you do. Marcus didn't think. He just moved, low center of gravity, hands on the rail. Get off the span now. The first steer was not cinematic, it was quiet, just a seam opening, like the world unzipping under his feet. He went flat, not to be dramatic, but because when the bridge starts shaking itself apart, the only way to stay on it is to become part of it. He tried the radio, one word, clean and simple: Mayday, Mayday, and the only thing that answered was static. So Marcus decided to go old school. It was his last resort to use a flare, because light does not need a reception. And for a second, the flare turned the whole bridge into a glowing diagram. Every cable, every line, every mistake lit up in a hazard orange. Then he heard it. Rotor blades. Not hope yet, just a chance. A chance do not last long on a failing bridge. The most dangerous moment isn't the collapse, it's the rescue when the structure decides it's done waiting. A sound like a cannon shot cracked the valley. The main suspension cable snapped, whipping through the air like steel bullwhips. They dragged him over the skid just as the central tower buckled. He didn't look down. He didn't have to. When they strapped him in, his hands were still locked in the death grip. That's what terror does. It stays in your muscles. The bridge that stood strong for 50 years vanished in 50 seconds. But the real tragedy wasn't the collapse. Later, people would ask how this happened. Marcus knew the answer wasn't poetic. It was just math and warnings ignored until they still had no choice but to speak. When the dust settled, the blame game started. Politicians pointed fingers, lawyers drafted lawsuits, but engineers, they drafted diagrams. The collapse didn't happen because of a massive flow. It happened because of a microscopic one. A tiny stress fracture at the gusset plate number 4. Gusset plates are the unsung heroes of a bridge. They connect the massive steel beams together. If one fails, the entire geometry of the bridge turns against itself. For years, heavy traffic have been adding invisible micro tears to this half-inch piece of steel, 1,000 tiny cuts accumulating in total silence. In suspension bridge engineering, this is known as a cascading failure. When plate 4 let go, weight transferred to plate 5. It couldn't handle the load, so it failed. The hardest part of Marcus's job wasn't finding the flaws. It was finding the paperwork that proves someone else had already seen it and ignored it. 2 years before the collapse, a junior inspector flagged plate 4 for rust. The memo was filed, the budget was tight, and so the bridge was left to wait for the inevitable. This is fatigue, not one big hit, thousands of tiny ones. The bridge doesn't fail when it gets tired, it fails when it runs out of chances. And here's the ugly part. Failures don't just happen in steel. They happen in schedules, in skipped inspections, in repairs that become next quarter until there is no next quarter. Most disasters are not unsolvable. The fix usually boring. A thicker plate, better drainage, more redundancy. Tragedy is how cheap prevention looks, right up until the moment it isn't. After every collapse, they write reports like this. Clean sentences, neat diagrams, but the real lesson is always the same. Physics does not negotiate, it only collects. Marcus survived, but the bridge didn't, and somewhere else right now, another structure is making a smaller sound, one no one is listening for yet. That story is next.